and scaling content channels. Wow. From podcasting to YouTube and running social channels, it's always a struggle bringing the numbers up. Always. What's the trick? How can podcasters attract listeners? Content creators get more views on YouTube. Social influencers get more following and engagement. Man, oh man, I am, wow. Definitely going to be tuning into this one. But here to moderate and introduce the incredible panel, give it up from Yellow, Mamta Varerkar. Make some noise. She's doing the catwalk right here. keep the claps coming, because that's the situation. You know, keep them coming. Mamta is going to be introducing her incredible panel. Give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, one more time. Mamta, over to you. You got 35 minutes. Go ahead.
I didn't trip, so that was good. Great. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Big House. It's always fun to work with you. So I'm Mamta. I'm from Yellow. We are a branding and marketing agency. So we create content for ourselves and for brands that we work with. Aside from that, I also have a podcast channel called Startup Hustle Middle East. So come say hi. We have a booth over there. And I have amazing panelists here. I'll start from there. We have Casey Fitzgerald. She's the senior writer and presenter at LovinDubai. She must look really familiar to all of you. So it is the social, local, mobile news channel. She's responsible for content creation, storytelling, publishing, and engagement on all platforms for LovinDubai, which is part of Augustus Media. We also have Mashal, who was moderating a panel before. Ooh, shaking hands. She is a writer, entrepreneur, and techie. She's scaled audiences to millions of global readers with her last media startup, The Tempest, and recently with her femtech startup called My Lily. Welcome. And we have Panagiotis. I got the name right. He is the co-founder and CEO of Susurrus. Did I say that right? Yeah. The leading influencer marketing platform in EMEA that helps brands, agencies, and marketers get more customers through influencer collaborations. So excited for the panel. Great. So I want to start with Casey and your experience with LovinDubai. So how do you start and choose the right platform for yourself?
Choosing the right platform, I guess, is a difficult question, and it's all about understanding the platform that you're on. So when you jump in, you really need to understand the feed, you really need to understand the algorithm, and then just be consistent. I think we'll use the word consistent a lot today.
Yes.
But for us, I mean, we started 6 years ago when there was a massive push on Facebook. So at that time, we were pushing out articles all through the day, and the reach was huge. But it's been really interesting how social media has evolved and how we've evolved with social media. I guess when we had the website and Facebook, now we have Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, audio platforms. We have MailChimp, so we send out a daily newsletter every day. And it's about creating the right content for that platform. So how we've evolved with the platform. And it's just really interesting because now you might have a piece of news that you put on Facebook, for example, and then you tell it in a total different way. Same story, but you're just totally changing it for TikTok. So choosing the right platform for you, I think it's just something that you feel comfortable with, but also it's about the platform that's growing. And right now, I think everyone can see the growth in TikTok.
Yep.
So it's either whatever you're comfortable with or the platform that's growing. And I would push with the platform that's growing because you'll probably feel a sense of accomplishment when you get 1 million views for like a silly video of a duck walking, and then you can move on to something that might be relevant to your platform, to your brand or publisher, whatever.
Okay, great. And what has your experience been with The Tempest? And My Lily has grown tremendously as well over a very short period of time. So where do you start?
I think it depends on what you're trying to do at the end of it, right? Like you're building your corner of the internet, and I think that's important to understand at the end of it. Whether you're a brand, whether you're just a person who wants to venture into a different social platform. I love TikTok. Like the access that you get is unparalleled. And I think one mistake that a lot of people make is they overthink it. This is not a platform that you have to overthink. It's literally just about creating and getting comfortable with being unfiltered, right? The most visually boring content can somehow do well. So you really just need to understand and just create a lot of content. And I think that's something that people maybe struggle with the idea of, right? They think they need to do all these elaborate plans and content, and they need to you just need to create a content machine, an engine at the end of it, right? With The Tempest, what we started off with was 2 verticals where we focused on family and relationships and very personal narratives, because that was the gap that we identified, right? We wanted to connect women from around the world and have one platform. And then as traction started picking up, and we were building our own audience, so it wasn't like socials were a way to get traction to our platform and our website initially, right? But over time, we scaled from there to crossing, like, you know, I remember like the first couple of months where just reaching tens of thousands of readers was the biggest achievement we had, right? But over time, once you crack and understand audience and what people read, and that only happens when you create a lot of content and a lot of different types of content, right? To understand what people are interested in and what they're sharing, what's actually gonna matter. And you have to almost become very tunnel vision around understanding people, but also be disconnected enough to, like, your best work may not get the most traction. It may actually rarely be shared, right? Yeah. So disconnecting yourself from being too personally, like, attached to the numbers, like that, like, you have to be sometimes almost mechanical about it. Yeah. But where to start? Like, start with newsletters. I think that's a very powerful way of even owning your own audience, right? Which I think is powerful. TikTok is amazing. Whatever platform you choose, and Twitter, again, is super incredible, right? To build your network and even as a brand to have a point of view. So it just depends on what you're trying to do, and at the end of it, just do it.
And do it often.
Yes.
And don't get too attached to the vanity metrics of likes and engagement. Okay, great. And as brands or content creators are looking for growth, what collaborations do you think, Panagiotis, are necessary? I mean, aside from influencer marketing, how do you think that helps brands?
In terms of brands, right?
Yes.
I mean, I have to borrow Casey's words in terms that consistency is key. Apart from that, I'd say that depends on who you're selling to, your target customer. I mean, if you're a brand that appeals to older people, like 40, 45 plus, for example, then Facebook definitely is your platform for sure. If you're appealing to younger audiences, then I'm not sure Facebook is a good idea, not even Instagram probably. I think you definitely go for video and TikTok for sure. So one thing is to know who your customer is, because you have to find them in the relevant platforms. Apart from that, also consistency. I mean, you can't just post whenever you remember or whenever you have free time. You have to find some time and create content calendar and have a whole dedicated team for that.
And do you think that when brands collaborate with influencers, they see a big spike in terms of awareness and engagement metrics, but then it dips down when they're not? Do you think it needs to be an always-on strategy?
I mean, of course, depending on the collaboration and the influencers, for sure, if it's a great match, of course, they're gonna see a spike in numbers and based on what's the goal of the collaboration. But I mean, depending on your budget as well, but you definitely have to put it on your mix. I mean, or not in 2016 or 17 anymore. We've seen it growing year by year, so it's definitely on the mix for established brands as well as for upcoming brands. So influencer marketing should be a long-term game, not just one-offs and ad hoc collaborations only.
Yeah, when we're working with brands as well, it's almost included, influencer marketing is almost included as an additional media channel. It's just, you know, part of the media mix right now.
Yeah, just to add on this, I don't think it's a good idea to try to cut, you know, some budget from PR some budget from events, make bits and bytes from here and there, and try to say, okay, now we've got some, I don't know, $5,000. What can do with influencer marketing? Because this is not a strategy. This is.
It should not be an afterthought.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like saying, okay, now we don't have anything else to do. What can we post on Facebook and Instagram? I mean, you're dead if you think like that.
Yeah. No, definitely, it's something that's part of the attribution modeling and stuff, and it does contribute to conversions in some way or the other, if it's the right partnership for both the brand and for the influencer. So we've spoken from a content creator point of view. What do you think the audience is looking for on these specific platforms? How do you feel responsible for the audience in terms of content? Casey? This isn't one of the predefined questions.
Well, what is the audience looking for? But it's not really about what the audience is looking for. It's about what you're creating, whether it's relevant to them. So they are going to be on a specific platform. They're not looking for you. They're going to be on the platform that they want to be on. And you need to, I guess, experiment with your content to reach them. Which is why I think TikTok is so great, because it's kind of allowing experimentation at the moment, and we don't need to be strict with feeds and algorithms because there's no rules around it. People can just be more experimentative. So it's about, I guess, hate to use the word authentic.
Yeah, we hate that word, but it's important.
But it's about being real to what your brand is, and then trying to storytell on the platform that people are on.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. What about you? What do you think the audience is looking for?
Everything.
Okay.
Like I love
content hungry.
I love mindless scrolling on TikTok. It's one of my favorite things, and I love that TikTok just knows what I want because, okay, sure.
Oh my god, that algorithm, it's too good.
Take my privacy, give me good content.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but no, but I think like for a platform like TikTok, I'll give you one example, right? We realized there was a lack of educational content when it came to young girls and women, so we started with that. And we realized it was doing very well because people were really interested. Young girls started asking us questions, and we literally started with like one part of it, which was, and you know, this might be weird, but people love watching videos which have pads in them. We like literally, so anything that we put out, we would have the same visual and we had paint on them. And for some reason, people loved watching those videos. So you have to crack the visual side for a platform like TikTok, and then you put in the informational content because you have to understand how people are consuming content and really customize it to that, right? And it didn't take a lot of like fancy equipment or cameras or none of that. It was very basic. Like I took my acrylic and watercolors, right? And I was just mixing it up together with our team, and we literally created it like within, I don't know, an hour or something, right? But batch creating content is important. On a platform like Twitter, threads do so well. If they're good threads, if there's a story, you have to understand storytelling. You have to understand that you're quite literally like creating something like, and at the end of it, if you're not interested in the content you're creating, why do you think someone else is going to be? You know, so you have to sort of develop almost and curate your own taste as well. And I think that's a good starting point. Like, figure out what you enjoy because it's going to be easier. But second, look at what works. Because it's not just about what you enjoy. It also has to be around what does well, right? And that means being on top of it. And you will have to put in the work in terms of figuring out what's trending, what sounds are trending, you know, visually what you can do better. And it is so much of experimentation, but that's what pays off. Unless you do that, you're really like, there will be one-hit wonders, but it's not even about going viral. It's about creating consistent content over time and building like your corner of the internet, right?
Yeah.
What is your space? If you can't define that, I think it's going to be difficult to kind of have it consistent and to keep growing over time.
Yeah, I think TikTok is also an interesting one because we were speaking to the ad team and the creator team of TikTok, and they were saying it really is a truly immersive environment because when people are on TikTok, they're not second screening. They are truly engaged because it's visual, but also sound plays a massive role in TikTok. So as I'm learning about the platform as well, it is also looking at trending sounds. I saw this on my FYP, which was someone commented, someone created one video twice, was doing A/B testing, and said, comment if you've seen this version versus that one. And I went back and I saw version 2 and it was pretty much the same. And I was like, this is an interesting way to really experiment with a platform, you know?
Absolutely. One thing I do want to add on, right? I think there's a misconception that long-form content doesn't do well, but I think if you can build an audience where you're building even their own tastes, right? You just have to find and get to your audience. There will be people who still enjoy longer newsletters, that enjoy personal narratives. Like, you just have to find your corner of the internet and you know, build that out. I think that's the real trick here, and that's what most people struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. I think that with our podcast as well, our episodes are around 40-45 minutes long, and we've gotten feedback that, oh, maybe they need to be a bit shorter, but we look at content that we consume and podcasts that we listen to, and they are long, and to get into the story and the learnings and the findings of an entrepreneur and their experience, it takes time. So we haven't compromised on the duration, and that's fine, because we know our audience truly wants to learn and truly cares about that, you know, so I think that's interesting. Okay, another question for you, Casey. So, I mean, aside from like experimenting and trying out different techniques, finding the right platform, it's a lot of work to create content. So how do you scale content without compromising on quality? With LovinDubai, how have you achieved that?
I think for us, and I think for everyone, scaling can be quite daunting, because you think, and I think you touched on this already, that you have to create a lot of content. We churn out heaps and heaps of content, but it's not necessarily all entirely new, because what we can do is repurpose it for each individual platform. But most importantly, the key is to start with a base of like something that you're really proud of and whatever works for you. But for us, it might be one strong article or one strong interview. And then you kind of grow from there. So for example, if we have an interview in the morning, then it's like, okay, how can we put that on TikTok? That's going to be good for TikTok. And because it went live across different channels, and we put it live because the platforms like lives and they'll boost engagement on that, but we're not necessarily going to put it on the feed, because on Instagram feed, people aren't consuming long interviews. Yeah. But we'll put like a 30-second clip on the feed with a strong headline and title. So it's about like having a basic one thing that you're really proud of, whatever works for you, and then putting out little micro bits of content on all the platforms. But as long as you can like start with that machine and roll that out, work smart, not hard, I think.
Yeah. Make one piece of content work as hard as possible. Yeah, Gary Vee does that really well, right? Where it's like, my one speech is going to be produced into like 30,000 pieces of content and tweets and everything.
And it works.
And it really works for him, yeah. So from a brand point of view as well, Panagiotis, so when a brand is looking to collaborate with an influencer, do they also create one piece of content that is then used for paid media, is then repurposed in several ways to maximize the partnership? Or is it a very defined scope of work when working with?
It depends on the client, on the influencer, on the type of partnership. I mean, it used to be that Instagram content could be shared on Facebook pages, but nowadays I don't think that's the case anymore, because you know, at least for influencer marketing, Facebook is not relevant. I mean, you can't see any new creators trying to create a Facebook page, or even the ones that have an existing audience put that much effort into it. No, I think you create, in terms of influencer marketing, it's different content per channel, because these are completely different channels. I mean, even if you're talking about video, it's a completely different format for Instagram in comparison to YouTube. So it has to be tailor-made. The best thing is that the brand should have an idea, a clear concept of what they want to communicate, and then it should be chosen along with the influencer on, because they can put their input, since they know their audience is based on what should work. I mean, it's quite a common case that you know, some brands come up with an idea for some deliverables in a platform, let's say for Instagram, and then you see creators saying, you know, this type of content or the info that want to pass through this partnership maybe would be a better idea to be embedded in a YouTube video, for example.
Okay, great. But do you think that viewers trust influencers?
Even if it wasn't.
I mean, I buy a lot of things because I see it on influencers, but it's a question because you mentioned the cancel influencer trend that happened because of some you know, raunchy news that came out and stuff. So what are brands do? What is the responsibility of brands when looking for partnerships with influencers?
And you asked something before the responsibility?
No, because of the cancel influencers trend that happened in Greece, is that right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think brands can learn from that when they're looking into partnerships with influencers? From that whole incident that happened?
It's quite a process to actually vet the right influencers to match your brand. I mean, one thing for sure is data. You have to find influencers that their audience is relevant to yours. I mean, if your audience is younger ages, 13, 17, 18 to 24, you have to find influencers that do have that
appeals
audience.
To that, yeah.
And if we're talking for a certain gender, if it's only female or only male and stuff like that. Apart from that, it's also you have to see how the influencers perform in general in terms of engagement and rates of their posts. Mm-hmm. Also, a little bit more intelligent. You see engagement, but if you see in terms of comments, are they any relevant to the brand? Yeah. Or are they, oh, you're awesome, you're great, you're looking good? Yeah. So quality matters on that. And apart from the metrics, you have to check that if the influencer represents the value that you as a brand represent. I mean, you know, as a brand, you stand for certain things and purposes. You have to find influencers that really fit into that, and you can't just do that by scrolling and seeing the latest 10 or 15 TikTok videos or Instagram posts. You have to do a little bit more research, see how these people talk, behave, see on the news. If you notice any negative patterns, I mean, of course, there is the risk that you do all the background check and then something bad happens. But if you're better prepared, you minimize that risk.
But I think in terms of the cancel culture, like, it does happen, and then there's ways to be prepared. Yeah. And it's something that everyone has to learn because everyone makes mistakes, whether it's brands or publishers. Or personalities, influencers, you all do. So it's how you then deal with
responsibility for it.
And it's so important to like take the ownership and take the responsibility.
Own responsibility.
Navigating it can be really tricky, right? But
I'm not sure we can hear you.
Oh wait, this is better.
Yeah.
I'm saying navigating that can be really tricky, right? Sometimes because with cancel culture, I think everyone is constantly expected to be well informed on the optics of what is right and what's wrong. And I think that's really difficult. Like, we need to be more human about how we treat people. Yeah. Everyone can make mistakes, but if we can't, like, the way things are going on the internet, I think the future is going to be really, really scary because it's not that people are going to change how they think. They're just not going to want to show certain bits of how they think. You know, if everyone,
because they're too scared of cancel culture.
Because they want to sound right, and they want to
be PC.
Yeah, they want to resonate with, you know, what's going to look better than what they actually feel. And so what we're doing is we're not really having difficult conversations. I don't think we are going to have engaging conversations or anything we're learning from. Everyone's going to be too focused on what sounds right and what looks right, And that's harmful. It's dangerous. So we need to talk about this.
Yeah, but you also see that content creators that are growing are being real and being authentic, and that word again, and really sharing their experiences with #NoFilter, and those are performing well because people are yearning for the truth. There's so much crap out there.
Because that's what works, right? I think people are sick of being sold to. They want to see real people, real conversations and vulnerability. And I'm not saying that's everybody, because of course there's going to be people who like seeing that perfect side. But I think at the end of it, everyone does want to be informed, inspired, or entertained, right? And so it really depends on what you're trying to do. But at the end of it, like, people are sick of constantly being sold to from every part of the internet.
Yeah.
So if you stop that, I think, you know, what makes an influencer, I don't even like the word influencer.
Yeah.
It's sad that it's
It's
kind of like the
become like
reputation
that.
this word
Yeah,
has, right?
yeah.
But I think people trust.
Key opinion leader. Yeah. I've heard that too. Yeah.
I don't control how my face looks sometimes.
Yeah. I've heard that from times.
But I think with creators, a lot of it has to do with sometimes like being more specific and intentional is better because your audience trusts you more. If you are selling a different product with a different brand every single month, what does that mean? Like, what's the difference first? And I think second of all, it also is, but this puts creators in a difficult spot because everybody's got to make a living. If this is your main form of revenue, you're gonna have to find a way to make it work, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think we also see a lot of creators moving towards really wanting to build deeper connections with their audience so that they will want to support them.
Yeah, and potentially more like long-term partnerships with brands that they believe in, causes that they believe in, so that it's aligned from a values point of view as well.
Can I add a note on that?
Yeah, sure. Are you going to say something about the word?
No. In terms of the consulting and in general how creators and brands as well should respond, I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but authenticity, once again, is the key. And I mean, people are experienced nowadays. It's not days of innocence, 2015, 16, or you name it.
And everyone has a voice.
People, not only that, people can definitely understand what an advertisement looks like. So, I mean, you should, and you know, the resources and the options are unlimited. So you can go to Instagram, to TikTok, to Facebook, Snapchat, you name it. So, in order to keep engaged and the attention of the audience, you have to offer some actual value. I mean, here right now, me posing with this and say how amazing this is and I'm enjoying it. This has no value. You have to offer some actual value and offer some piece of information that people don't know. Offer them some content for free, or just make them laugh. But just you know, pause and say, "Oh, that's perfect. I'm having a great time. I won't get anywhere."
Yeah. Nobody's going to buy into that.
Not anymore. I think. Yeah. And the thing is, to put a final note on that most of the brands are still thinking in the old traditional way, in traditional advertising, as it was done in TV with celebrities, with actresses and big sports athletes and stuff like that. And the thing is that to do a commercial in TV is something completely different from a collaboration with an influencer on their channels, because they have a very certain style, and the brands most of the times are very intrusive and try to disrupt that in a way that feels so much like an ad. And it doesn't, it can't get them anywhere. I mean, it works with celebrities, and celebrities are more comfortable for that. But when we're talking about creators, about YouTube creators or TikTok creators, they're very strict about that. Most of them would say, no matter what the pricing is, I won't do that. I want to be, I won't betray my audience. I want to put it natively within my feed, because they're playing the long-term game.
Yeah. In general, anyway, most people hate advertising. But yeah. Okay, we have 5 minutes left, so I'd like everyone to answer this question, which is, which platform are you most excited about in terms of potential, and why? Yeah. So Casey, you want to go first?
I use Instagram, and although I don't post on TikTok, I know we've talked about it a lot, but I'm definitely the most excited about it because there are still no rules involved. I think TikTok is kind of obviously it's growing steadily and the numbers are huge now, and it's it's kind of like YouTube back when it started, that people didn't pay that much attention to it. And obviously it's a generational thing. So we were talking previously and it was like, are we using it, are we posting on it? Maybe not so much, but obviously a younger generation to be are. But we are opening it up, we're curious, we're scrolling, and we're actually kind of seeing the value. So it's not just, and you talked about you're putting information in your videos, you're actually getting a lot of information. And let's say, for example, the Washington Post, they have an amazing news channel, and they are giving news to a younger audience. So in terms of being able to be more creative, it's also encouraging creators to be more creative. Facebook has now kind of removed their 3-minute push. So they're also focusing on 3-minute rules. They've also just launched Reels here. So everyone is posting on short form video, and I think that's thanks to TikTok. And I think, yes, there's space for longer form videos, and yes, there's space for podcasts, obviously, but actually for bite-sized content, I think we can thank TikTok for changing for short attention spans, but also for changing the game, because before this we were doing news but not in a fun way, and now we're telling news in like short cute ways, and it just, you know, it makes us up our game. So I'm most excited about TikTok.
Okay, awesome.
I as much as I love TikTok and I will always recommend it for scale, I think it's dangerous to be on any one platform completely. You need to diversify and you need to build an audience and different audience segments across different channels. I love TikTok because of the unparalleled access to people, right? You can reach so many more people than you can on any other platform. But 2 things to keep in mind if you do think about it: conversion rates are very low, right? So you may have millions of followers, but are they going to spend and convert and go to other platforms or websites or whatever you're trying to, you know, link them to? Low conversions. But at the same time, brand recognition. So scaling in numbers, TikTok is great. I really like Twitter. I still think it is a great platform depending on which region you're targeting, and I think it can be a great way to build out, you know, whatever point of view you're trying to build out. In this region, there is still an active, vibrant Twitter community, but I think at the base of it, like, yeah, TikTok would be my first option. Emails, I think, still so underutilized.
And Panagiotis said, LovinDubai newsletter, he reads it religiously, yeah.
But at the end of it, like, because our attention spans are getting shorter, like that's why TikTok works and Reels work, right? Because our attention spans are only going to get shorter, but at the same time,
we yearn for long stories.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
true.
Yeah, and again,
right,
yeah. So TikTok definitely #1, Twitter #2, and I still think Meta. So if you're trying to reach an older audience, like Meta, Facebook still works, and Instagram works too.
I think Instagram works really well for conversions. Now I think people are using Instagram a bit for discovery, but I think in terms of conversions, we've seen really good results when it comes to beauty, fashion,
and depending on
food.
the region, even in this region, right? Like Saudi markets and the UAE, like very different ways of consumption and what people are using.
Yeah,
Snapchat
YouTube is huge.
Like Snapchat is great.
Yeah.
So is Snapchat, right? So.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take away from Instagram, because I actually think what TikTok has done is amazing, is that it's actually created its own space, and it will never overtake Instagram for what it does, but it's just created a new space, so it's a new platform that people can choose from.
And Instagram is trying to be like TikTok with Reels and stuff.
Instagram's trying to be
It's trying to be everything. It's trying to be
Where's
everything.
Instagram audio?
Yeah.
Meta is trying to be everything.
Meta is trying to be everything.
And the main
yes.
vehicle is Instagram.
Yeah. And WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I think that there's something there too. So yeah. Great. So we have 1 minute, 30 seconds left. If nobody has any questions, okay, we're not allowed to. Okay, we're not allowed to. But thank you so much for being a part of this panel. So key takeaways for all.